Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole bringing you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. Hey, Yuli. Good evening, good evening. So we are here, and the majority decided that you wanted me to review the actual scripted version of the Lyle and Erik Menendez story. So we're here. Hey, Leo. And of course, as you guys know, I am from California. I was young when this happened, but I do remember their faces all over the media. However, in my community, as in the Black community, as in the inner city of the LA County area, we had other things to worry about at this particular time, like Rodney King, Latasha Harlins, the LA riots, the OJ Simpson trial. We have other things to be concerned about. So this wasn't really a hot button topic in our community in LA. However, it is definitely something that triggered a lot of emotions, good or bad. So, one thing I will say about Ryan Murphy, Ryan Murphy is a legend when it comes to the writing and producing game. I love his true crime series. I love his true documentary scripted type of series. He, of course, did the OJ trial. He also did Halston, which was a fashion designer. I love that. He did Versace. He's done Jeffrey Dahmer. He definitely will take true crime stories and like true people, true events, and make them into a scripted masterpiece, depending on who you feel, if it's a masterpiece or not. But I say all of that to say, regardless on how you feel, his numbers always hit on Netflix. Every time he does something that's true crime related, documentary related, he's like number one for weeks. Okay, so we can't deny that. And there have been a lot of controversy behind, well, yeah, American Horror Story, but I'm talking about strictly about true crime. Because if I could be honest, Yuli, in my opinion, American Horror Story has not been the same. But his true crime has always caused controversy, and it definitely hits the numbers, whether it's for good reasons or bad reasons. And he's always had negative things said about his true crime scripted stuff and positive things. And one thing you can't respect about Ryan Murphy, he's talked about this particular story, and he said, he kind of pretty much doesn't care. It's like he know he's going to get criticized. He creates, and that's just what it is. I usually like his true crime, but I don't know about this one. So if I had to rate it, I'm gonna give it a C. Maybe no, I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C because it was still good elements in it. I just don't know who this actual mini series was for. Now, let some people tell it they feel like this would help Lyle and Erik Menendez as far as bringing more light to their case. I just don't know if this is going to help them, especially considering the fact that this has taken place while they're still in prison. So I'm a little concerned about some of the things that they put out here that were scripted and there's no factual basis to it. Now, of course, when it comes to scripted television, even if it's based on true events, things are going to be scripted because they have to create drama behind it. I just don't know if some of the drama they created was really needed or someone wanted to live out their dark, twisted fantasies. I don't know. So let's get into it, okay? Now, based off of the whole entire series, this picture, their promo picture, now makes sense, if you know what I mean. Hey, the driven black girl, hope all is well. Make sure you guys hit the like button on the way in. This picture makes sense based off all the things they wanted to talk about. Now, one thing I will say that is a constant reminder typically in his true crime documentaries. I love the fact that in his true crime documentaries they try to give different scenarios, different versions of the stories based off of one of the main characters' possible perspective. They did that with OJ, the OJ series. I love the fact that they gave the eyes of what Marsha Clark was going through, the eyes of what Johnny Cochran was going through, the eyes of what is his name? Shapiro was going through. They gave all different perspectives. They tried to do that here. Unfortunately, two of the main people that they wanted to give perspectives on are no longer with us. And also two of the other people who are in prison, it sounds like no one asked them for any type of insight of what they wanted to really talk about when it came to their story. But that's a normal thing in these situations. Like Ryan Murphy doesn't reach out to anyone, because I know the Jeffrey Dahmer situation was a big issue where the victims' families felt like that is something that wasn't needed, and he had the creative right to do so. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna talk about that, Leo. Oh, we're gonna talk about all of that. And that's why if you notice on my actual thumbnail, I'm worried about Erik, because what transpired in this man is still in prison. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. But this picture now makes sense. Chest all out, hugging up on each other. Now, if you've seen the series, now it makes sense on why they had this picture, why they had it. So let me give a basic background for those who maybe have not seen this series or know what the heck I'm talking about. Lyle and Erik Menendez, okay, they actually are brothers who were actually born on the East Coast. They lived in New Jersey for a while. Their father was a Cuban immigrant who actually came here to the U.S., ended up falling in love with their mother. And he pretty much came from having nothing to becoming a top executive, one in the music industry, and then also going into the film and television industry. And so around, I believe, 86, they ended up moving to Beverly Hills when they moved in. When he moved into the TV world, the Hollywood world, and they were living a life of luxury. They apparently had property in Jersey, they had property in Calabasas, and they had property in Beverly Hills. Okay. He was making a lot of money and was a top executive. So, with that being said, unfortunately, we do live in a society where people feel like if you have money and you live in a life of luxury, there is no reason to complain and everything is fine. But clearly, everything was not fine in that household, because Lyle and Erik Menendez decided on August 20th of 1989 to actually take their parents out in the most horrific way. Okay. And they took them out. They tried to create an alibi, and they even called 911 with the crying, the tears, the all of that, as if they didn't know what the heck happened to their parents. All right. So, what we have starting off is, I love the first episode. The first episode pretty much gives it into the eyes of no one knew what happened. Hey, Alicia, no one knew what happened. We see them, literally in, their limo, for example, on their way to their parents' funeral. It is very hilarious how they kept playing Milli Vanilli throughout this, which makes me wonder, like, Ryan, are you about to do an actual movie or some type of series on Milli Vanilli? Because he was definitely he had that playing out. But again, Milli Vanilli back then, they were hot. Regardless on what people say about them, we was all playing that song. Black, white, Puerto Rican, Haitian, Asian, a lot of us was playing Milli Vanilli. And what you already see is a very dominant, very unhinged Lyle, who can't keep calm about anything. And you see Erik, who comes off very sensitive and innocent. And when they're in the limo, Lyle pretty much has on his father's shoes. And it makes Erik literally almost break down and cry. And he's like, Erik, you stop being a pretty much a wimp, get it together. And what you see is them putting on a full act at the funeral. Like, they don't know what happened to their parents. They even had a part in the funeral, which I can't verify if this is true or not. They had a Milli Vanilli song, "I'm Gonna Miss You, Girl," or something like that. That apparently they played at the funeral. I don't know if I can confirm that, but what we can confirm is that apparently some people were saying that their behavior was quite weird. Erik, however, was a little bit more somber, and he was, kind of like really distraught by the situation. Meanwhile, Lyle was very calm, composed, and apparently he even did make some type of comment to, I believe, one of his father's employees or someone like that. That, my father said I couldn't feel his shoes, but look at me now, like I have on his shoes. He made some type of comment like that. So what we find out is, and this is actual information that is in the court documents, is that Erik could not handle the guilt of what he did. All right. He couldn't handle it. He ends up going to his therapist, which was allegedly a shady ass therapist, who, when he goes to his therapist, he confessed literally on Halloween that him and his brother did that to the parents. He unalived them. And so at that point, this freaking psychiatrist decides to call his mistress, okay? Calls his mistress, not his wife, because this is the moment where I need one of my friends or one of my crew who's actually an attorney. If I'm not mistaken, when you are married and the whole purpose of being married is that a wife or a husband cannot testify against each other. So my guess would have been the best person for him to tell would have been his wife and his wife only. But because he was already allegedly a shady doctor who apparently lost his license as well, he decided to told his mistress to come. He was recording tapes, pretty much told Lyle to come in because he said, Erik has told me everything. And this is where the whole downward spiral happened, as far as someone outside of them knowing what they did to their parents. On top of the fact that these boys, after their parents was gone, was spending money like water, okay? Allegedly, within the couple of months that before they got caught and got arrested, they had spent a total of about $700,000, okay? And this is, mind you, in 1990, okay? So imagine what that equates to today. $700,000. Apparently, Lyle bought 3 Rolexes, a Porsche. They was buying condos. They were just spending money like it was nothing. Now, some people thought it was their way of coping because their parents were gone, but other people, of course, was looking at this like, this is really suspicious. Like, what the heck is going on here? So with that being said, what we see is that once the psychiatrist knows, Lyle even makes a comment like, okay, we're going to have to take him out. And then we eventually find out that the reason why they ended up getting caught is because the mistress is the one who went to the police after the doctor pretty much told her that she had to get the hell up out of his house because she wanted to stay with him because she was worried about what Lyle and Erik would do. And she ended up staying at his house and really trying to find a way to weasel her way into that house. Like she was going to be the second wife or the only wife, by even talking to the kids like, you can have treats whenever you want if I was your mom. So literally, because the doctor said you're trying to sit up there and get my kids to feel like you're their mother, like get the hell up out of my house. And so she was like, okay, get up out of your house. Let me go to the police. And that's where the drama begins, in a sense of Lyle and Erik being caught. They hear the tapes from the actual doctor that kept those tapes as collateral. If you ask me, he kept those tapes to kind of bribe them, in my opinion. I think definitely he was doing that to make sure, not for his safety, because I feel like it was for his safety. He would have just sat up there and reported them immediately if that's the case. I think he did that because he wanted some type of leverage to make money off of the situation. You know, the Hollywood way. So that's where it is as far as just the background of these young men who at the time, I believe Lyle was like 21, 22, and Erik was like 2 years younger than him, maybe even 19 years old. And so at that point, it's all hell breaks loose because they're like, what is going on with these crazy kids where they were off their own parents? Okay. Some people said it was motivated by money because apparently the father took them out of the will or made the assumption that he was going to take them out of the will. But other people said you don't do what you did to your parents at close range like that over just money. There had to be something else that was there. So with that being said, these are the actual actors that played Lyle and Erik. And then the two in the middle are actually Lyle and Erik Menendez. Okay. Faces was all over the place. Even with me being young, I knew that they were bad. I knew that they were rich. And to be quite honest, I thought that they were crazy because I was like, what the heck is going on? That was my mindset at my young age. Now, certain things that I did not know, but I was laughing my ass off if I can be honest. Baby, that scene when the parents was arguing with Lyle and the mama took that toupee off of Lyle, I laughed my ass off. I thought this was supposed to be some type of comedic relief because of all the dark stuff we was about to experience, okay? I was like, what the hell is going on here? But come to find out, that was a true story. Lyle was losing his hair and he had to get an actual toupee, like a professional thing to actually attach to his scalp or be glued to his scalp. He actually had to get that, and his own brother didn't even know that he was losing his hair. So that was actually true. But at first, I was like, okay, Ryan and writers, like, what the hell is this? But yes, that is true. He did not have any hair on the top of his head. So definitely that was true. Looks scary. Yeah, and that's another thing too. And I can't wait till the documentary comes out also because the problem is sometimes their own actions made people question why they did this. Now, here's the thing. My opinion on the situation, yes, he was actually losing his hair. I thought that was supposed to be a reaction to make us laugh, but that was actually true. He was losing his hair. What they did was still first degree. My personal opinion, I don't think at that particular moment they felt like their life was in danger. Especially with all of the planning that it took and how they literally drove to San Diego to pick up the steel and to use a fake ID. To me, all of that was premeditated. It was. That is my opinion. However, now learning what they went through and now having actual cases like Gypsy Rose and other cases that are coming out, I don't feel that they should still be in prison. That's for sure. They've been in prison for 30 something years. Okay. But my opinion, this was not about if they did it or not. They confessed that they did it. It was about why they did it and how really SA and especially child SA situations, how it can truly alter the brain. But it could have also been a situation where, look, y'all put us through all of this hell. You put us through all of this, and then you trying to say you're going to take us out of the will. We went through all of this hell for nothing. That could have been a cause of rage too. You know what I mean? That could have just been the icing on the cake to all of the drama that they went through. Interesting enough, now though, they're broke. Because see, this is what happens when you have a young mind and you're filled with emotions, because at the time, the estimate value of the estate was $14 million. What they didn't know is that their parents were in debt with all of the real estate they had and other things they had going on. So by the time they paid that stuff off and their actual case, which probably cost millions of dollars, Apparently, there's absolutely no more money left. So even if they get out of prison, there is no inheritance. So, yeah. Yeah. So if they did all of that for money, allegedly, there ain't none. So you literally spent 3 months of enjoying yourself to now being in prison for nothing. So here's the scripted version that I had an issue with. Um, oh gosh, it was a lot. And I don't even know if I could say some of these words, and be mindful of some of the words you guys say in the chat. They implied a lot. Now, we already know that the boys alleged that they were essayed by their own father. Erik actually says that Lyle also essayed him when they were younger, and that's probably because of the learned behavior that he learned from his father. But apparently, at one point, the father stopped doing it to Lyle, and he kept doing it to Erik. And he kept doing it to Erik even when he was pretty much in his teens, 18 years old. And they felt like there was no escape from the situation. Okay. So we knew that part. What we didn't know, and we still don't have proof of, is a couple things that they wanted to discuss in this actual series. They implied that the brothers had a thing for each other. And I don't know if I can say the I word, but you'll figure it out. They applied it multiple times. This is also a picture of the real picture of, which is kind of a little scary because it does kind of look a little bit alike. But this is the picture up top is the real picture. At the bottom, of course, is the picture of the actors. But they definitely implied that they had something going on between each other. Okay. And that was just weird as shit. And even looking up documents and stuff like that, and looking up articles, even apparently people who were there in the courtroom, even like people like the lawyers and stuff, people who were there, they said that was not something that was in the courtroom allegedly. No one implied that at all. Okay. Now, my thing is this: Erik did mention in the courtroom that his father used to belittle him and call him names, including the F-bomb name. Okay. But just because your father does that does not mean that you are gay. All right. And I don't like the stereotype of, because that happens to you, especially when it comes to the whole men essaying a man, that automatically that makes you gay, or it alters your thinking to become gay. I think that is a stereotype that to me, that's going down a very, very I don't know. Like I didn't like that. And y'all let me know how y'all feel. But I feel like that was the case because Erik has never said that he's gay. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, in 96, they did an interview with Barbara Walters. I couldn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the part. I believe he said he is not gay. Even if he is undercover, it is not anyone's responsibility to put him out there like that. Okay? Especially when this man is in prison. We clearly know the horror stories that we have heard about prison. So the mere fact that they not only express that, and how he's getting apparently favors in prison, and that the shower scene with the inmates. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what are you guys doing? Like, this man is married. He's never said that he's gay. I don't even know if there's been rumors going around from people who've actually been in prison with him that he is gay. What are you doing right now? Like, this is not good. And I don't care if he has a great reputation in prison and he's been in prison for 30 something years. He's in his 50s at this point. And in prison, you always have to stay on guard. Like, there, people will try to try you in prison. So I didn't like that. I feel like that's putting him in a bad spot. a really, really bad spot. Lyle also, but for whatever reason, they truly came off like Erik is the vulnerable, soft guy who just can't protect himself. And they made it seem like Lyle can handle himself, but Erik cannot. So let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, it was premeditated. Yeah. Looks scary. True. Yes, that I do believe, but they are still guilty. Yeah. I mean, no one is saying that they weren't guilty. They were never going to be able to get off and say they absolutely didn't do this. They confessed. But again, based on what they're claiming happened to them, and even other family members claiming the same thing, if we're going by today's standards, they would not still be in prison. And I think a lot of it had to do with, one, people don't like rich people. They looked at them that they were just like these spoiled, entitled assholes. And then also I wonder if they were women and also didn't have money, if people would have felt sorry for them, because a lot of people didn't really feel sorry for them. That I remember. You know why? Because when I used to watch those comedy skits from like SNL, I believe, and the other like comedy shows out, they used to clown these boys like crazy. There was even movies kind of based on their story. If y'all remember the cable guy, and they was talking about how the twin off the other twin, that was like the court thing behind the whole cable guy show. In my opinion, that was based off of the Menendez brothers. The Menendez brothers, I'm sorry. That was based off of them. So no one really took them seriously. They laughed at them. So you really think about it. If they really went through all of that stuff that they went through, can you imagine already keeping that a secret for so long, putting it out there in court, and for people to make fun of it? Like, that's literally what happened. Yeah, because I kept saying I don't think that part was for real. Which part are you talking about? You talking about the part of the brothers liking each other in that way? It was no rumors about them being gay. That was all Ryan on that part, it seems. Yeah. And I don't even know if Ryan wrote this, because Ryan is at that level as far as the writing world where he just puts his name on stuff. He's the EP, but literally he has writers who are doing the writing. So I don't even know if he actually put pen to paper in any of these scripts, or he just automatically got credit because, of course, he is, someone who automatically gets that type of credit. So I don't even know if he actually wrote this, but whoever wrote this really went in a dark, twisted way. And I don't understand why they went there. Um, I don't understand why they went there in a sense of, in my opinion, watching this, I felt like they didn't see Lyle and Erik as humans. The salacious stuff and the stuff that they kind of wanted to get the oohs and ahs on took away from really seeing these boys as victims. The only part that really took me to really knowing and really feeling bad for them was at the end, when after they pretty much their first trial was a hung jury. The second trial after the OJ case, LA took so many losses back then, because even with the Rodney King trial and those police officers getting off because they lost billions of dollars due to the riots, like, LA was taking loss after loss. So after they lost the OJ trial, they was trying to get a win, and they was going to do whatever they could to get a win as far as the Menendez brothers. So, and the Menendez brothers end up being found guilty. They didn't get the D penalty, but they did get life in prison. The only time where I was just like, damn, like it was tugging at my heart really, is when they got into separate vans at the end of the actual the end of the last actual episode, and that same "I'm Gonna Miss You Girl" song was playing, and they were in separate vans and they went opposite directions. And literally at that point they were freaking out, trying to figure out what was going on. and they were saying, oh, you're going to one prison, he's going to the other, which I thought was completely effed up. Like, they have lost everything. They like, and at that point they treated them like, I guess, our black and brown folks, how we always not, we don't get the justice, or the fair rights. They truly treated them like that, because at that point they lost everything, but they had them in separate prisons. And guess what? For those who may not know, they had been separated for over 20 plus years. They had not seen each other, had communication with each other for over 20 years. Apparently, maybe the wives kept the communication going between them, but they hadn't seen each other. It wasn't until, I think, 2018, 2019, they finally were reunited and they're back in the same prison. And they said it was truly emotional when they saw each other. They said they hugged each other for so long and started crying. And I want to say they're cellmates now, but literally that they separated them and they could not have any conversation for like 20 plus years, which is so effed up. You know what I mean? Like, literally just so effed up. But that was the only part where I felt for them. Other parts, I had my face twisted up like, what the hell am I watching? And y'all let me know if y'all felt the same way, but there weren't a lot of moments of me feeling for them, because every time they really talked about the SA part of it, they was making it seem like they was turning up the tears, because like when Lyle told his part of the story, he was like, do you need me to cry? Because I can cry. And I was like, okay, so I'm supposed to, I guess, to make it seem like you did all of this for show? Like, what's the whole purpose? I did not have moments of feeling for them. The only time I had a moment was when Erik was speaking to his attorney, and it was just him and his attorney. And he went through the back and forth conversation about what he experienced, what he went through. While that was a long scene, and sometimes I kind of went in and out of it because it was like really long, same, frame of just him talking. That was the only time where I could really understand maybe the psyche of Erik and what he definitely went through. But other than that, I did not have enough scenes to feel for them, especially Lyle. I damn sure didn't have enough scenes about him. Like, I felt like he was pretty much his father. He became, but again, in these type of situations, when it comes to SA, you hear that all the time about kids who end up getting anger issues, and they're upset with the world, and they're mad, and they take it out on other people, take it out on animals. Like, they're really upset. And I guess that was Lyle's way of handling what he went through. Where Erik's way was, he was just more sensitive. Okay, so it was 2018. Okay. Yeah, the separation was the part that made me pull on my heartstrings. I didn't have moments of pull, and I didn't have moments pulling on the heartstrings for Kitty Menendez or their father. I didn't have heartstrings for any of it. It was weird to me. It was really weird. And a lot of people didn't believe the brothers. Exactly. That, and they was making fun of them. Now, in today's society, that wouldn't be allowed. Today's society, you gonna get cussed out, the cancel culture, whatever the case may be. They wouldn't tolerate that. And I think that is for men and women. But interesting enough, it makes you wonder, because of Gypsy Rose and so many other situations, do they possibly have a way of getting out? Because now they understand psychologically what kids go through when they're constantly being treated like that. So yeah, 2018. Oh, well, I didn't know that was they was back together at the same. They are, but it took them, because they were together in LA County Jail until they were convicted. However, I do feel at one point, because of that so-called escape plan, they didn't have them right next to each other, allegedly, for a while, but they were still in the same prison. So I guess they could still maybe see each other somehow in the prison. But yeah, so once 96 came, they separated them, and they weren't able to see each other again until 2018. They definitely made Lyle the villain and mastermind. Right. They did. They did. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But what I will say is this: clearly, Erik and his brother, there is love there. There is a closeness there, because Erik, it was true that Erik was in Israel. He was in a whole nother country at a tennis match when his brother got arrested. Now, if he really didn't care and he wanted his brother to take the fall, he didn't have to come back. He probably had enough means to go to Bali somewhere and never come back and never return. But he actually volunteered himself to come back and make sure that he was there with his brother, so they could face, what they were going to have to face. So that's one thing I will say about Erik, because literally I don't know how many people, especially when you've been essayed not only by your father, but your brother too, that probably would have been a moment to escape and get away, but he didn't. But you guys let me know how you feel, because when I've watched every single true crime scripted version that Ryan Murphy has done, I have definitely learned new things, but I also felt bad for people that I never felt bad for before. So, like, for example, with the OJ one that he did, Marsha Clark, or Marcy, I think it's Marsha Clark. I half the time don't remember her name. I used to call her the Jerry Curl lady because I felt like her hair was curly. And I was like, did she have a Jerry Curl for white people? But, the black community didn't care for her when it came to the OJ trial. They didn't. They didn't care for her. But once watching her actual episode with the OJ miniseries, I felt for her. I was like, damn, like, as a woman and, not really being, critiqued because of your, skills as far as being an attorney is concerned. They was critiquing her for her looks, and she was going through a divorce situation. She was going through a custody battle. I felt for her. She did. She had a Jerry girl. She looked like the white Rick James. So, but when I watched it, I felt for her. I felt for Johnny Cochran. Didn't know that Johnny Cochran had some scandals going on. Felt for him also. Yes, Ryan Murphy did Dahmer. He did the Versace one. He's done the Halstead one. He's done a lot of them. And they hit those numbers on Netflix. This one has hit their numbers on Netflix too. But it's just, this one took me for a loop. This one took me for a loop. I was like, what is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of this? And what are we supposed to gain in this? Because if it was supposed to be me feeling bad for them, I really only felt bad for them watching this at the end. Well, I was like, well, dang. I mean, y'all putting them in prison for life. You might as well let them stay together. You know what I mean? Like, but see, here's the thing. It evokes some type of emotion out of you. See, the thing is that scripted television and TV, like, and film, should evoke some type of emotion, whether it's laughter, whether it's spooking you, whether it's, making you cry. It's supposed to give you something. I didn't feel that with this. And you guys let me know if you did. I did not feel it. I did not feel it. I didn't feel sorry for not one person until that scene with Erik when he was talking to his attorney by himself. And I was like, okay, he's really getting into the psychological mindset of what he went through. And then, of course, the ending when they were separated. But even throughout all the episodes, like, it was still they try to make it seem like it was still about the attention for them. Like, even when Lyle said after when OJ got off, and he was like, you gotta give some type of, slogan or something. He did, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. You need to have, if you've been abused, you can't be accused. And I said, what the hell? I was like, I hope this was still not the mindset of him, or like the fact that he was still like, we need self-tanning spray. I need the proper glue for my toupee. And I'm like, you are truly, truly delusional right now. And it didn't make me feel for him. Yes, he was in the same prison with them. And interesting enough, now this is definitely something that was confirmed, and even Erik said it also. Apparently, I think they had knew of OJ or met him before because of the circles that their father was in. But literally they were right next to each other. They couldn't see each other, but they was right next to each other, cell to cell. And what I found interesting is watching the OJ trial, the OJ miniseries, and watching this miniseries. Both of them said Shapiro was a freaking attorney that was not about really fighting for his clients. He was about making a deal for his clients. They said that in the OJ situation, and they said that in this actual movie or this miniseries as well. Interesting enough, Erik said that when he would speak to OJ, I guess he tried to tell him, like, yeah, that Shapiro guy is not the attorney for you. You need to speak to my attorney. And that's how he got linked up with Johnny Cochran, because I guess apparently Erik's attorney and Johnny Cochran were great friends. So that's how he got Johnny Cochran, because Erik was already telling him, because I guess from his own experience, you don't want him as an attorney. So I found that to be very interesting. Yeah, he got called out multiple times. Shapiro has been called out multiple times that he was just about creating a plea deal and not really fighting. You guys, you're going to hear my cat in the background. Like I told you, he's on punishment. He can't go outside because he likes to be the Suge Knight of the community and fight cats. So you're going to hear him. My apologies in advance. He wants to go outside. It's not happening. Yes, it did. I'm sensitive to most things, so I try not to watch certain things. Yeah, definitely. You're an empath, probably just like me. That's why I couldn't watch Deliverance, because I was like, I ain't about to watch that. That is not in my ministry. I'm not watching it. Yes, he did get called out multiple times. And interesting, I don't think he's even commented on it. He's been called out multiple times. Yeah, that's interesting. Is your fur baby locked up? Yeah, he can't go out. He got into a cat fight and he got an injury. And almost $200 later, yeah, I had to pay for all of this stuff to help him out. When he gets into fights, there's freaking red sauce drawn. He can't get into it, just a minor scuffle. So that's the problem. He literally has an injury now and had to get antibiotic shots and everything else. So he can't go out. And I wish I could say that these random stray cats attack him, but I've seen him in action, where he literally go to the opposite side of the community because he sees a cat and be ready to fight that cat. So I don't know who's starting it. I think he started, so he got to stay in the house. Absolutely not. But moving on. Yeah, that vet bill, exactly. Almost $200 because he want to fight. No. So yeah, that was an interesting story. And he said the only time he would actually physically see OJ is when they walk to like go to chow or go take a shower or whatever, because they were like celled like side by side. But apparently Lyle was pretty much telling him, man, you're guilty, just admit it, while Erik had a different approach. So Lyle seems to be a little interesting. And what's interesting is it seems like Erik has spoken more throughout the years than Lyle has. I've heard Lyle talk, but it seems like people are more intrigued when it comes to Erik about the situation. But yeah, I do not feel like this gave us any more insight besides people wanting to live out the fantasy of what could be or what they wanted it to be at the expense of Erik and Lyle Menendez. I don't think this helps them. Now, hopefully they can spin it where this could help them and this could help them get out of prison, because a lot of their family members have literally admitted to something not being right. And let's be honest here. When you have that many family members that are going to come and pretty much get on the stand to defend you, I don't know how many family members would do that, considering what they did to their parents, unless there's some truth to it. Like, you're going to have some family members where they feel like there's no justification to what they did besides money. They would just want them to rot in hell. But a lot of them came forward. So to me, I can't say that they're lying about that, what they went through. You know what I mean? And by the grace of God, I have not been through that. So I can't say psychologically what they were feeling and what they were going through. However, they did deserve some type of punishment for sure. Do they deserve to be in prison for that long? No, I don't think so. This is them now Lyle, I guess, finally said, forget the toupees. I'm just going to sit up there and shave it off. They have actually aged pretty well. They have actually aged pretty well for their ages. I mean, when you really think about it, yeah, especially Erik. Erik pretty much looks the same, you know? Um, Trial, but it happened around the same year. People were going mad in 89, I guess. Is this in California? Was this a California driven black girl? I don't remember that story. Unfortunately, in my community, we had so much stuff going on. Like, yeah, like we had so much stuff going on, child. We had to keep up. We really had to keep up. There was so many back to back trials and things going on during that time. At least I know for the Menendez brothers, that was the least of our worries in the black community. I'll just say that. I think a lot of people chalked it up as in those are rich, crazy rich people's problems. They didn't care. Especially when the OJ trial came out. Yes, I remember that movie. I have to look at it. Maybe if I look at the pictures or whatever, I would vaguely remember. Her husband and his new. Wait, why do I feel like was there an actual movie about that? Didn't they have something like that on Netflix? I feel like I seen something like that on Netflix. I think I know what you're talking about, but I'll look it up and yeah, I'll look it up. But I feel like I saw something like that on Netflix. But yeah, child, California definitely got some yes, movies and shows. Okay, maybe I did see that. I will have to see the picture, but I don't know if by then when she went to trial, I don't know if there was actually like if this was televised. See, the thing about the Menendez case, the Rodney King case, the OJ case, like they said, even with the Menendez case, that's how court TV was created. Like a lot of these cases that we're talking about now, that's when all of the whole media and court and the salaciousness of it and the gossip of it all, that's when all of that stuff really started to develop. So I feel like the Menendez case was really the first case that took action on the Hollywood scene. And it became a big thing to have the cameras in court to talk about these cases and to actually be in the courtroom every day to listen and watch these cases all day, every day. Because the Menendez started that. I want to say the Rodney King trial actually had, or did they try to remove the cameras for that? I think the cameras were in the Rodney King trial. Yeah, so but I feel like that Betty lady, I don't know if that was actually televised. Yes, the OJ trial seemed like it did. It was for months. I want to say even a year. Thankfully, they don't do trials like that anymore because back in the day, if you had that type of jury duty case, you was away from your family for months until things got resolved, unless something happened where you had to remove yourself from the case, like we saw with the OJ miniseries and how certain jurors were pretending like they was crazy or having moments so they can take their asses home. That type of stuff back in the day, it was serious. Like I would never want to be on a case like that where I had to be away from my family and stuff for that long. They were in hotels for months. That was crazy. But yeah, this was probably the worst true crime scripted miniseries that Ryan Murphy has produced. I have to say it. This one did not give me anything besides what the heck, what are they doing and why did they write that in it? Like, what was the purpose? That's when I was just like, and then Erik has responded. Erik has responded and said, he, doesn't like it. But Ryan Murphy, I believe, responded saying, I don't think he's even seen it. And I don't know if they have freaking Netflix in prison. Hell, at this point, if they can have iPads, I'm assuming they can watch Netflix. But apparently, Ryan is saying he hasn't watched it. We don't know if he's watched it or not. But he does have a wife. And the wife probably gave him play-by-play of what's happening. And I'm sure the wife definitely talked about those shower scenes and the scenes between him and his brother. That in itself probably made Erik say, what the F? Like with all the things that you could talk about. why in the world would you take that and create this fiction, like, and I can't even say it's fiction to really help the story move forward. I don't even understand how somebody in their mindset could say, what about this scenario that the brothers were intimate with each other? Who thinks that way? Especially when they have claimed that they've been essayed. And unfortunately, Lyle did that at one point as a kid to Erik as well, probably mimicking what his father did. Like, I don't know why they took it there. I don't know. You see how long the YSL trial's been going on, almost a year. I wonder if those jurors, though, have to stay in a hotel or if they can go home. If they have to stay in a hotel, yeah, I feel bad for them too. I really don't think this series will help them for sure. I know Kim Kardashian is working to get them out. Okay, well, Kim Kardashian's money might do the trick. And it makes me wonder because I want to say in one of Erik's documentaries, he said that OJ had been around his house or he's met OJ before. Like all of those rich kids in the Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Calabasas area, they all kind of knew each other. So I wouldn't be shocked that the Menendez and the Kardashians, that whole family knew each other to a certain extent or been around each other. So that doesn't shock me at all. And with her money and her celebrity, that may do the trick. Then they even had the dad doing freaking stuff with other guys. Like, huh, right. Somebody wanted to have a moment of maybe living out some twisted fantasies. I don't know. That it just, to me, there were certain times I was just like, why do we need to see this? How is this propelling the story forward? Like, seriously. And I don't even remember now. I don't know if you guys know this, which is why we're going to have to do another one of these when the documentary comes out for those who really haven't heard about this story, because a lot of the times when there was updates on this story, of course, the California, LA news knew about it before probably other parts of the world. But there was a group called Menudo back in the day. It was an actual boy band group from Puerto Rico. Ricky Martin, I believe, was a part of the group. One of the guys from Menudo has alleged that the Menendez father actually SA'd him. Okay. So when that came out, that brought light to them, because at one point there had been years that there was just no information about them. They kind of disappeared in the system. You know, so when the Menudo boy came out and said that Mr. Menendez did that to him, and he said it happened several times or multiple times, also in New Jersey or whatever the case may be, that really brought light to, oh, maybe they were telling the truth. You see what I mean? Let me see. Yeah, it was a twisted story. It just didn't make any sense. Besides, it was almost like whoever wrote it didn't necessarily believe them either, and they just kind of wanted to play up whatever type of twisted stuff they wanted to bring up. It comes out October 7th, so it comes out literally like this weekend or beginning of next week. So yeah, October 7th. So we're definitely going to do another. So we're going to talk about that because this is a more updated documentary, hopefully with both of them talking about what's going on. Hi, Jason. Love this. Free the boys. Yeah, it's again, I don't think that they thought they were going to completely get off. That would have been ideal, but I just don't think they were going to complete that. The whole thing about we needed to get them before they got us. It just didn't play well in court because of where the actual parents were at the time. That didn't play well. However, at the end of the day, because there have been more and more evidence and the actual cousin still to this day with the same story, and apparently there is a letter now that Erik wrote to one of his cousins, and they're saying it is a letter from back in those days, because based on the events that he's talking about in that letter, there's definitely things that imply that Yes, Erik was going through that. He was. He was actually going through it. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in and subscribe that he was going through that. So with that, the Menudo boy, um, and and let's not forget the fact, and I think they even, and again, sometimes I have to make sure that I'm talking about the actual scripted version versus the documentaries I've seen. Let's not forget the fact that apparently Mr. Menendez, no one really liked him. No one really liked him. They said he was ruthless. They said he was cutthroat. They said he was mean, shady, like he was a shady ass businessman, which is why I guess it wasn't too far stretched for them to think that it was foul play as to him screwing over someone. And that's why that happened to him. There were his old colleagues and people like that who literally did not care what happened to him because they said he was just that mean and that cutthroat and that trifling. Okay. So, with that being said, it makes you wonder if someone that mean, cutthroat, and everything else, and how so many people don't like them, does that type of person really turn that off when he gets home? Is that possible? Is that possible that you can be that cutthroat where people in life don't like you at all and you're not even known as a great coworker, a great boss allegedly, but then you come home and you're the perfect father, perfect husband? Makes you wonder. In an old documentary, I think Kitty brother was against them getting out. Yeah. But here's the thing. Interesting enough, Kitty's brother did say that, but Kitty's sister said that there was issues in their home too. You see what I mean? So you have some people who will literally take family secrets to the end. And some who are like, no, this is what happened. And maybe this is why Kitty was the way she was because of certain things that we went through. Because Kitty's sister, I believe in that same documentary, said there was some issues in their home. Hi, Los BK. Ryan's a genius on the way on in one way when it comes to doc series. He's also deprived. Every show has essay, depravity in nature. Yeah, even his new show. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I feel like there's a time and place for certain things. First of all, as a creative, you should be able to create how you want to create. Okay, get it, got it. The Jeffrey Dahmer miniseries did not bother me as much because to me, that really gave a lot of the play by play of what was going on. I think it was just hurtful for the victim's family to relive those certain things. He has definitely done things that have taken it to another level. Like one of the American Horror Stories with the it was like placed in New York City, and it was supposed to be a guy with like the whole whips and all of that stuff. Like there was a reason for that. And I want to say the guy who was supposed to be considered like the boogeyman was supposed to represent, HIV or something like that. I remember that story, but sometimes there's a place for that. I just don't understand what was the reason for this one. I don't understand the reason for this besides the fact that you wanted to, I don't know, embarrass them or like put a negative spotlight on them or that they're weird maybe. I don't know, or that they're just so psychologically messed up. I don't know what the purpose was because those scenes I haven't seen anywhere in any type of documentaries or any court case documents, or even, they have the actual the court footage on YouTube. I haven't seen anything that suggested that. So, what's the point of it? That's a great point. Yeah, I don't see how you can be. You talking about how they said how ruthless Mr. Menendez was. Yeah, I don't see how you could be that ruthless and then come home and be just completely opposite. That show has already started. I didn't know Kitty had a sister as well. I remember the brother. Yeah, Kitty has a sister. And they said that there was some issues in the home. And the cousin, I believe her name is Diane, which is the older cousin. I saw scenes of her in the courts And she was talking about how Kitty had another side to her and how, it was uncomfortable with her reliving how Kitty used to scream at her and holler at her. So yeah, 2 episodes so far. Okay. I may have to check it out. Los BK, how is it? Like, I understand that you're saying that it's, you know, a little out there. Well, a lot out there, I guess, but how was the actual show? But yeah, so I don't know their purpose, you guys. Now, maybe just maybe just maybe, because I'm all about balance. Maybe it wasn't about embarrassing them or really giving them more issues in prison and things like that, because it could go that way. Maybe they made it so salacious and so far out there so it could grab everyone's attention. And maybe it was so far out there that it would grab everyone's attention so they can kind of research this case all over again. But here's the problem with that. You don't have a lot of people like some of us who are critical thinkers who will go and do their own research. You will have some people who will look at this scripted miniseries and take it for what it is. And then the next thing you know, they're going to say that the brothers were intimate with each other. Because we are living in a day and age now where people don't want to do their research. The most that they'll do is Google, and everything on Google is not factual. So at the end of the day, well, in my opinion, everything on Google is not factual, because you have gossip sites and stuff that come up. You don't necessarily know if they telling the truth. You don't have, it's not like the old days. Yes, and I guess my old days where you used to have to get a library card and go into like books that were published decades ago and do some research, or go to like the courts and actually get the court documents. Yeah, no, we don't live in those days anymore. So maybe somebody would be willing to do the research, but in this day and age, people just take things off of face value based off of what they see. So, right, because the old documentary, I never saw that kind of stuff they showed in this series, and I get it, it's scripted, but that was pushing the envelope a bit. Right. Right, it was. I expect out there when it comes to Ryan Murphy work at this point. Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with out there, but I feel like even in these situations when you're dealing with real life people who are still alive, who are trying to get out of prison, I just feel there's a certain way to still do things. But hell, here's Ryan Murphy. That man has had how many shows under his belt? I guess in his and I don't even know if he wrote it. A lot of the times Ryan has a writer's room of people and he's just the executive producer, and his name is the name that brings the attention. Like even with Shonda Rhimes. I don't know the last time Shonda Rhimes was in her own writer's rooms, but her name is what sells the show. So I don't even know if Ryan actually wrote this, but whoever wrote this, I really don't know. So it was either one or the other. They wanted to possibly embarrass them. They don't believe them, or they wanted to take it there because it's just like, I don't know. Or it could be we wanted to make this so salacious, so much of a scandal, so much of a WTF moment that it will really bring them back into the spotlight, and people are going to be talking about this for months. Maybe. I hope with Kim's money and resources she can take, because everybody's talking about this right now. I hope with Kim's money and resources, she's able to really take this and spin it to work it in their favor. They have been in prison since they got arrested, like in 90, if I'm not mistaken, and they haven't seen the light of day since then. You know what I mean? Like that's literally 34 years. I would say they've done the crime. I mean, they did the crime. They've done the time. You know what I mean? Now, of course, we do have other cases out there where people don't get this type of attention. They don't have the complexion for protection. And some of them haven't even done anything and they've been in jail longer and they haven't been able to literally be able to get out of prison. I get that. I understand it. But at the same time, just because they came from a wealthy family does not mean that they also deserve they deserve to have justice and be able to get out and be able to really be free for once. Because when you really think about it, everything what they're saying is true. These boys have been in a prison since they were pretty much born. While they were living in a mansion, that mansion to them was a prison. They was a prison when it came to their bodies. There was a prison when it came to their minds. And they went from that to going to an actual real prison. And no telling what has gone on with them in that prison also. Have they ever been able to live a healthy, productive life? Maybe the money was the only thing that they could cope with to mask everything that they've been through. Because we all have heard those sayings time and time again, money don't make you happy. We see a lot of celebrities, we see a lot of people who have all of this wealth and they're unhappy and they're crazy. We have seen it time and time again. And I think we automatically assume that, well, if I had that type of money, like what they complaining for? Nah. Because sometimes people with all of that money, they got a lot of issues behind the scenes. They just know how to hide it better. You know? Exactly. No research whatsoever. Yeah. So yeah, you guys, this is them now. You know what I mean? But they always say jail preserve people. People don't really age that much in jail. And that seems to be the case because they actually look good for their age. Erik looks even better. Like he seems, definitely Lyle, I mean, what you can tell is still him, but you can definitely tell he's aged a lot. But Erik definitely, but they look good for them to be in jail for 34 years. And apparently they are well-rounded in prison. They counsel other inmates. So, they have definitely lived productive lives, I guess, behind the prison walls. And, they did not have any type of past issues with I don't know if I can say the word, but they haven't had any issues with that before this happened. In my opinion, will they get out and be able to be, civilians, law-abiding citizens? I absolutely do believe that. It will also be about who they surround themselves with as well. You know what I'm saying? It's about who they surround themselves because I don't think they will understand too. Now that we live in a social media world, they're gonna have trolls and people try to bait them just to get a reaction out of them. So I hope, Teeth, this is not a moment of joking about these guys. This is the problem with Teeth. We could be talking about something serious and he want to come in with a joke. We talking about these boys who have been in prison for 34 years due to and them literally being essayed by they father and they mother knowing about it for years. I don't know if you even know about this story because I don't even know if you was born when this story came out, to be quite honest, when this happened. But yeah, so hopefully but as far as the scripted version is concerned, I was not impressed. I was not impressed. And that is like when I tell you, when it comes to the true crime series that Ryan does, oh my gosh, it's always something where I'm just like sitting there, like I'm into it. And I'm into it not because, of what actually occurred, because of course what occurred was sickening, but it really educates you and really wants you to dig deeper into learning certain things. In this situation, it did not want me to look deeper to a certain extent. I already knew some of this stuff, but then again, I'm a critical thinker and I'm someone who likes to research. So yeah, I guess to a certain extent it did. I just fear people who watched it and just was so turned off by it that they don't give a shit. That's what I'm concerned about. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm concerned about. They were so turned off by the mentality of what they, you know what I'm saying, or the brothers apparently having that type of relationship, and Erik, being in the closet. They're so turned off by certain things that happen that they don't care. You know what I mean? Or more than anything, they're just going to talk about how disgusting the brothers are and not really get down to what actually was in the courts and what actually was being told. Let me see. This could be getting a new trial or possibly getting out because it's a group of advocates out there keeping their names out there and trying to see how to get them out. That's what I'm hoping. And again, sometimes creatives will do things on the whole opposite end just so people can talk about it. People still believe in all publicity is good publicity. So it could be that they said, you know what, we're going to take it to a whole nother level that makes people be like, what the F is this? But people are going to talk about it more. It could be that. It really could be that, because I believe Ryan Murphy quoted because he responded to the backlash. He said they have had more attention on them since this has come out than they've had in a very long time. So that could have been their purpose. That could have been their purpose. And maybe it'll actually work. Free them, though. Are you going to watch the Hernandez one? I think Ryan is behind that one as well. I'm starting. You know why? You talking about Aaron Hernandez, the football player, right? You know why Ryan may want to be a part of that? Ryan may want to be a part of that because didn't they say that Aaron was undercover himself and he apparently had a relationship with a guy? There was a documentary out there where apparently that's what the guy was saying, because the guy is still around and he was talking about his intimate relationship, I think, with Aaron Hernandez. That's him, right? Aaron Hernandez, the guy who has kids by a black woman. That's who you're talking about. So it makes me wonder if that's the reason why he's taking that one on, because of the fact that Aaron allegedly was living a double life. I just Googled it. Yeah, it's called American Sports Story. Yeah. Now it makes me wonder, like, does Ryan like to go for these stories that have those type of backgrounds or rumors about that? Maybe he likes those type of stories. Because when you really think about it, but again, he did do OJ. There was nothing that implied that in OJ. But Halston, he was a gay American designer. The Versace situation, Versace was gay, and allegedly the guy who offed him allegedly was also. And then you have Jeffrey Dahmer. We know that story. And then we have this case. But again, no one in this case ever said that they were gay. You know what I'm saying? Erik just said his father used to call to him the F-bomb, but no one said that he was gay. So I guess that's my thing. When you're still alive and you have actually stated out of your mouth that you're not this, I just don't feel comfortable with people creating stories and stuff implying that maybe you are. Like I don't like that. I don't like that, especially with him being married, especially with him being where he currently is. You know what I mean? Like that makes me feel really uncomfortable. You know, it does. It does. And I'm sure that's why Erik spoke out about it, because that would piss anybody off. Even if he is, it's not their responsibility to put him out there. But that's my opinion. What's already out? American Sports Story. The scripted version is already out. Let me know, Leo, if that's what you're talking about. Because if that's the case, that'll be something else that I put on. You guys, I have actually found some really good TV shows that are new that have come out, and a movie that was out in the movie theaters that is now available for rent. I think I'm going to start doing a little bit more scripted reviews, because I'm kind of over the reality stuff. I'm going to still do the reality stuff, but there's a lot of good scripted stuff that's coming out. Yep, the scripted version is out. It started on the 17th, September 17th. Okay, say less. That's going to be something else that's going to be added. Now, it really makes me wonder how far they go with his so-called down low relationship. It really makes me wonder, because I do remember that in the documentary that it was implied that Aaron, was at least he was bi, or just straight up gay, and he was just using, the mother of his children as a beard. So yeah, it would be quite interesting where he takes it for there. But as far as this one is concerned, sorry, Ryan. And I love your true crime stuff, but this one was the worst of the worst for me. This was the worst of the worst. Jeffrey Dahmer to me wasn't bad. It was just that a lot of the victims' families did not want to relive that, which I kind of felt was unfair. I understood what they were saying, but Ryan Murphy wasn't the first one to do a Jeffrey Dahmer scripted version or even a documentary. But because of his name and how much attraction he gets on Netflix with the stuff that he drops, I think just because there were so many eyes on it, people just wanted to come at Ryan Murphy. But there have been so many things about Jeffrey Dahmer, documentaries, even scripted stuff. Just like in this Menendez situation, there have been several TV movies and stuff made about them. This is not the first one. There was plenty of them. Horrible Lifetime type of stuff too, though. It was like horrible, even worse than Lifetime. They had some horrible TV movies back in the day about the Menendez boys, but because of this and it being Ryan Murphy and what they implied in it, yeah, this one is going to take the cake out of all the ones that have been done in the past. This one takes it. So yeah, I didn't like it, but look, at this point, if they're telling the truth, because again, the only people who really know at this point that are still alive on what's true and what's not true and what really happened that night is Lyle and Erik. You know what I mean? It's Lyle and Erik. They've told us the story. They are the only ones who really know the truth. They are the really ones who really only know the truth. Let them tell it in the actual miniseries. Kitty felt like her kids were sociopaths. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The odds of having two kids who are sociopaths, I don't know how likely that is unless there's something going on in that household. But again, do we really know the actual truth? No, they do. So I will hope to God if they're telling the truth. And if they were telling the truth, yeah, they need to be out. They need to be out. And some of the graphic things that Erik especially said, talk like giving like actual affiliations like the knees and things like that. I could see if he was doing that now when there's been so much education on that. But he was talking about that back in the early 90s where there was no education on it. Hell, internet wasn't even around. So for him to imply what different essay situations were, calling knees, calling the other part rough, and things like that, those are things that people are educated on now, weren't educated on back then. So for him to imply or say those things and give different categories to stuff and what certain essay moments were, it gives all the signs. It gives all the signs. So, and their attorney, by the way, hasn't even spoken to the brothers. The attorney, I think Leslie, the one who was Erik's attorney, apparently she hasn't talked about that case anymore and she has not stayed in contact with them anymore. And from my understanding, when it comes to attorney cases that truly take a toll on them or they just feel bad that they didn't get the verdict that they wanted, like it eats at them. And that could be the case with her, that it really eats at her what happened, and that not only have they been spending their whole entire lives in prison, but that they were separated for all that time. Because that was one thing that she said in some of the actual footage that I saw of her. She was like, come on now, like you found them guilty and then you want to separate them. She was fighting hard to not have them separated. And they wanted to stick it to them boys so badly, they separated them for over 20 years. Foul, straight foul. But with that being said, yes, that was Edward. Yes, that was him that played Jose. He played the hell out of that role. I will say the actors did their job. For what they was given, they definitely did their job. And the girl who played the mistress, she's always in Ryan Murphy's in all of his stuff. She's in American Horror Story. She's almost in everything that he does. They must be really good friends, but she's a phenomenal actress. She can really play any role. Half of the time I have to see, I'm like, oh, that is her, because she can truly morph herself into a whole different character like a great actress should be able to. But yeah, so as far as what they did, what they were given in those scripts, everybody did their job. They did. Everyone did their job. So I guess we're going to have to see. I guess we're going to have to see where this goes. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, Ryan and his whole crew benefited off of making this mini series. I doubt very seriously Erik and Lyle got any money off of it. But hey, if this is able to get them free, I'm sure they wouldn't mind the exchange. While they may be upset with how they portrayed them, because I didn't like how they portrayed Erik, especially. They may be upset about that, and Lyle, because again, they try to make it seem like they both was tangoing, so to speak. But if this gets so much attention that they're finally able to get out of prison, they may say, you know what, that was an even exchange. Because at least it brought enough attention to us to get us up out of there. And then that way we can spend the rest of our 50s and the rest of our lives out in the free world. So with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for listening. For those who have seen the miniseries or are going to watch the miniseries after I've done this review, let me know what you think. Let's continue the conversation. And some of you may think that they're straight up guilty. Some people still feel to this day that they're guilty in a sense of not just what they did to their parents, but they don't feel that they were ever SA'd. Again, I'm one of those people where as long as you're respectful, you can definitely have difference of opinions. If you feel that they weren't and you feel it was motivated strictly by money and it backfired on them, please let me know. Let's continue the conversation. So with that being said, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on my next video. Toodles.